Welcome back to Crypto Unlocked. I'm your host, Crypto Daryl. The XDC Network has been making serious moves lately, and last week's big headline was all about Circle bringing USDC and CCTP v2 to XDC. Now that USDC is officially live, a lot of people are asking the same question: what's next? Because the truth is, as big as the milestone is, it's really just the beginning of the next phase for XDC. If USDC is this spark, then the next steps are what's going to determine whether XDC goes from being an overlooked altcoin to one of the leaders in the next bull run. Today, I want to break down exactly what comes after this launch and why XDC's position in the market could get very interesting. But first, let's just recap what just happened. But in simple terms, Circle has partnered with XDC, and now USDC, the most trusted dollar-backed stablecoin in the entire world, is available natively on the network. That means no more wrapped tokens, no more sketchy bridges, no hoops to jump through. If you want to use real regulated USDC on XDC, you can do that directly, safely, and instantly. On top of that, Circle also rolled out CCTP v2, which allows USDC to move across blockchains without the middleman. It's basically a safe tunnel that burns USDC on one chain and instantly mints it on the other. That's cross-chain liquidity. Without the risks we've seen in the past with hacked bridges, together these upgrades bring serious trust and usability to the XDC ecosystem. Now here's the key. Adding USDC isn't just the finish line, it's the starting gun. Think about it. If you're an institution, a business, or even just a crypto trader, what do you need before you can even start doing serious transactions on a blockchain? You need reliable liquidity. You need stablecoins that you can actually trust. That's exactly what USDC provides. So with that now in place, the question becomes what industries, what sectors, what use cases will XDC actually go after? The first big one is trade finance. This has always been XDC's bread and butter. We're talking about multi-trillion-dollar industries that's still stuck using paper contracts, slow settlement times, and outdated processes. Banks, shipping companies, exporters, importers, they all need a faster digital way to move their money and documents. With USDC now on XDC, those institutions can now settle trade deals instantly in a currency that actually can be trusted. This isn't just a theoretical. XDC is already connected to the Trade Finance Distribution Initiative, or TFDI, which includes major banks and financial players. Before USDC, there may have been hesitation about settlement because the stablecoin options weren't regulated enough. Now, that excuse is gone. The next big step could very well be large-scale pilots where banks and trade networks use USDC plus XDC for actual cross-border transactions. That's where real adoption starts. The second big step is real-world assets, or RWAs. Tokenization of real-world assets is one of the hottest narratives in crypto right now. Everyone from BlackRock to JP Morgan is talking about how real estate, bonds, invoices, and even gold can be tokenized and trade on the blockchain. But for that to work, you need a reliable settlement options. You need stablecoins. That's where XDC and USDC actually becomes the most powerful. Imagine bonds or other financial products being issued on XDC and instantly paid for their digital dollars. That's not just a crypto story, that's a Wall Street story. And XDC is positioning itself right in the middle of it. In fact, the XDC community is already hosting events like RWA Night in New York, bringing together builders, issuers, and institutions to talk about exactly this. That's the kind of next step that builds momentum, not just in crypto circles, but in real finance. Third, DeFi and XDC, let's be honest, most DeFi action today happens on Ethereum or chains like Solana. USDC now being live, DeFi on XDC can actually start to take shape. Liquidity pools, decentralized exchanges, lending protocols, they all need stablecoins to function. Before, it was hard to build those on XDC because there wasn't a reliable, stable dollar to use. But now, that barrier is completely gone. The next big step here is developers and protocols stepping in to build out DeFi on top of USDC liquidity. And what happens next? XDC suddenly becomes more attractive to everyday traders, not just institutions. Fourth, stablecoins are already changing the way companies move money around the world. We've seen businesses use USDC on other networks to settle payroll, vendor payments, and even cross-border remittances. Now, XDC is in that mix. Because of its low fees and fast speeds, XDC combined with USDC could become a serious option for companies looking to cut costs and move money even faster. And remember, XDC is already ISO compliant. That means it's aligned with the same standard banks and payment providers are using. The next steps could be partnerships with enterprises or fintech companies that decide to settle real-world payments on XDC. Now let's talk about the competitive landscape. XDC isn't the only ISO coin. You've got XRP, XLM, HBAR all playing in similar spaces. But here's the difference. USDC is now live on XDC. That's the edge. XRP doesn't have USDC native on its chain. Neither does XLM or even HBAR. This integration gives XDC a unique selling point in the race to be the blockchain of choice for regulated money. The next big step for XDC could be leaning into the competitive edge, building partnerships and showcasing why it's better positioned for stablecoin-based finance than its peers. Another angle to consider is regulation. The US and other countries are slowly rolling out clear rules for stablecoins and tokenized assets. The fact that XDC already has USDC, a fully regulated stablecoin, gives it a major advantage in this environment. The next big step could be leveraging that position to get ahead of the curve with regulators and show institutions that XDC is the safer, compliant choice. And crypto compliance is quickly becoming just as important as technology. And finally, let's talk about alt season, because at the end of the day, all these fundamentals matter, but traders want to know what's going to move the price. Alt season always rewards projects with real narratives. The meme coin pumps first, the retail hype projects runs next, but then the money flows into strong fundamentals. And right now, XDC's fundamentals just got a huge boost with USDC's integration. The next big step for XDC during the alt season is simple: turning that utility into momentum. As traders start to realize XDC is not just another ISO coin, but the one that actually has Circle and USDC live, the narrative is going to spread. That's when we could see the sleeping giant completely wake up. So here's the bottom line though. USDC going live on XDC is massive, but it's not the end of the story. It's the start of a bigger one. The next big steps are real-world adoption in trade finance, tokenization of real-world assets, growth in DeFi enterprise payments, and regulatory positioning. These are the pieces that, when combined, can turn XDC from an overlooked mid-cap into a breakout superstar in the next cycle. If you're paying attention now, you're ahead of the curve, because by the time the market catches on, XDC might not just be a sleeping giant anymore. It could be fully awake and running away from you. And then by that time, you'll be too late. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe. Also, tell me what you're doing to position yourself with XDC. I'll see you next week.